And it seems like you would be able to notice behaviors that would show that, right? When I found out that information about that guy, I knew that really upset me because it made me realize, like, do we really know people?
I'm Stephanie Keith.
And I am Tara Manjekovic, and we are Unapologetically Outspoken. Hey, everybody, welcome back to the podcast. And we are super excited today because we have one of our favorite guests with us. I'm totally biased, but it is my best friend, Erin Yandell. She's been with us before, and we're just going to have a fun conversation today. So, Erin, welcome.
Hi, ladies.
We're so excited to see you.
I'm just, it's so cute because, we used to joke about how, like, I'm your biggest fan, just like Kathy Bates, Remember Kathy Bates in Misery? She's like, I'm your biggest fan. Yeah. But I kind of feel honored that I've gotten to watch you guys, like, just throughout your whole time of making this podcast. It's like all the things that you've accomplished and all of the information you've shared, it really does make a difference. And I know that in the world with, numbers seem so important, but really it's like every single day in a positive direction, you're making a positive step. And I'm just so proud of you guys that you share the information you do. And I listen to you guys like all the time, like multiple times a day.
Aww.
I love you.
No, she's not joking, because I'll say, like, oh, did you listen to today's podcast? She'll be like, I've listened to it 3 times.
Well, our voice is just so soothing,
Yeah.
Like truly about war.
I know. Truly our number one fan here. But Erin, what did you want to talk about today?
So, I was trying to formulate how I wanted to sort of open up with it. And I guess the best way I'd like to do that is just by telling a story that happened to me. And it got me thinking all of these different ideas, and almost like Stephanie talks about going down a rabbit hole, like that was kind of what ended up happening. And what happened was, and I'd like to just, I'm not going to get into names or any particulars in that way, but basically, I found out that someone that I knew, like, and I knew, not like, intimately or not, on a level of, like tight friends, but someone that I was very fond of, that I had a, good rapport with, that I found out that they were like a sex offender, and had been on the sex offender registry, like as a high level sex offender. And it was so odd because I've not had that happen personally to me in my life. To find that out about somebody else, and somebody that, like, because most of us think, okay, you have a general good idea of someone's character, like I feel I have a decent judge of people's character, at least at 40 years old, and have I been wrong in the past? Absolutely. I tend to try to give people that, I try to see the good in people, and, but anyway, sorry, I'm rambling on that, but basically it was just this crazy dilemma I was having in my head, because it was like, I've always said, when I think of a child molester, or I think of a sexual predator, you honestly picture them like these just monsters, and you picture in your head, like, just the worst of the worst of the worst, because they are, And so to have that outlook, which I think most of us kind of share that same, thankfully, most of us kind of share that same outlook. It's like, that's the worst of the worst. And then to have this strange dilemma in your head of like, this is a person that I care about, that I know, that I've had interactions with. And I had never seen any type of behavior, that was in it to indicate a monster, and so, and thankfully it was interesting because that day that happened, I of course called you, my best friend Tara, And she gave me some really good advice. And it was kind of one of those things where, you know, you don't know what happened, what the story is, you know, and it's truly not appropriate to just walk up to that person and be like, hey, what did you do? You know what I mean? So, you know, you have to kind of keep that distance, but also be respectful of the fact that you yourself can now be much more cautious around that person. But I still, to this day, am just kind of like, it opened up all these different questions of, and I made a few notes here, like, are there really this many pedophiles out there? You know, that's one thing I love, like Stephanie's conspiracies, right? Are just the best, because a lot of them are things I haven't heard of before. And I'll start looking into them. And the thing is, they're not, these aren't just like funny stories people are telling around a campfire. Like, these are stories that actually have legitimate evidence to back them up, and legitimate things that have happened. Now, are we ever going to know the true story? No, but, you know, like the whole Pizzagate thing, and, you know, the Tom Hanks one just kind of blew my mind. Like, because I'm with you guys. Like, I adore Tom Hanks. And having that been said, absolutely, I know that, you know, these are just conspiracies. You know, we're not saying that happened, or that, you know, but there's a hell of a lot of information on the internet that is quite interesting, I guess is the best word I can think of. And, you know, and so anyway, I'm sorry, I could go on and on, but that was kind of what started this whole concept of, like, I wanted to get your opinion, because you're two women that I very much respect and admire, and I would just love to get your opinion on, are there this many pedophiles and sexual monsters out there? Because I'm having a hard time wrapping my head around it. And it's kind of been upsetting me as of late, because I can't understand that idea that there's this many monsters just out there walking around among us, I guess. So that's how it all came about.
Yeah, I think the child predator thing has been the hardest part for me. And, you know, doing this podcast and like learning about all these conspiracies. And I was trying to prepare for the podcast by going over like some of the things that I had seen a while back, like the Pizzagate thing that you mentioned. And I couldn't. I had to stop, because the videos that don't even really show anything but are out there. I was telling Tara the other day, there's one with Stephen Colbert where he's dressed like a clown or something, and this boy has his face painted, and they're like singing a song, and the boy is like clearly terrified. And I had to turn it off, because it's so sick. It's like you want to cry and vomit, and it's so hard to take in. And so that's been the hardest part for me. And it's like, you know, you kind of look at your whole life and the whole world, and it's like, is it even possible that like this whole time there's been this much evil all around us, and we're just living our happy lives completely unaware of it? And that, I still struggle with that. It's like it seems like a movie. It almost seems like it's too crazy to be true. So
Well said, well said. Yeah. And that's, you know, Tara, kind of what is your opinion on that?
So my perspective is a little different, only because of my law enforcement experience and having done so many investigations into child porn and child predators and rapists. And I can't even tell you how many of these types of investigations I've done. So I've always been well aware that this element is out there, and it's disgusting that a large portion of the time it's family members, and this shit gets really, really dark. Like, I have done some investigations that are horrific that I will not discuss on this podcast. But I think for me, the thing that was the most eye-opening is how they're trying to make it publicly acceptable in the last few years. This push to make pedophilia seem normal, calling it minor attracted persons, and taking away any accountability or responsibility for what is essentially criminal behavior and disgusting criminal behavior, and making it seem like, oh, it's just a slight problem that people have and it's okay. It's not fucking okay. But like, Stephanie can speak on this much more than I can. When you look at the celebrity world and you see how this is so rampant with the elites, and the whole thing with Epstein Island and all of these celebrities, like we talked about the other day on the podcast, and it's the normalization of it and putting it in our faces, and this push for the, transgender surgeries for young people, and the creating the gender confusion. And that to me is what is so disturbing, because it's not just, these investigations I've done where something happened to someone and it wasn't mainstream and they tried to keep it secret and they didn't want anybody to know about it, because this shit, they're just putting it out there. And that to me is what's frightening.
I think that's behind this whole like thing with the trans and using pronouns and all of that kind of stuff. I really think it's like the pedophilia network behind it, because they're trying to sexualize young children and make it normal to like talk to young kids about things that are completely inappropriate for young children to talk about. And I feel like they've latched on to the LGBTQ alphabet thing, and I think that is terrible. And I see a lot of gay people that are really upset because they're like, everyone thinks that we're some pedophile pervert now because of that, because they're like trying to group themselves with a category that they shouldn't be grouped in. Like these are predators. These are people that every society that's ever lived has condemned. Even like the worst of the worst, the murderers in prison, what do they do when a pedophile gets there? They kill them. Like, and here we are and trying to normalize it. It's horrible. And it is crazy because it's like every facet of society and the people that are like in charge seem to be a part of this network. Like there's that new documentary. I don't know if you saw it, Erin, about Nickelodeon.
I heard about it. I haven't seen it yet, but yeah.
I haven't seen like the full thing. I've seen clips, but it's like I think we all kind of knew that something wasn't right in Hollywood, because you see all these child actors and they all grow up to be like on drugs or like just, they don't grow up to be normal human beings. And like I started following Amanda Bynes. I don't know if you've seen her. If not, look into it. I mean, it's kind of like a Britney Spears scenario where she's not the same person. Like something really terrible has happened to this girl. And so when the Nickelodeon thing came out and you found out that the guys that were in charge of everything, it was Brian Peck and Dan Schneider, they were molesting the kids. Like all of them, all the kids. And there's like so many rumors. And again, these are just rumors. I'm not saying they're true, but we're going to talk about them. The one that was like, I think is so far out, but at the same time, it's like, I think anything is possible nowadays. So Britney Spears' little sister, right? Like, I guess when she was young, a teen or whatever, she was like for a brief period of time, like tied with the whole Nickelodeon thing and that Dan Schneider guy. And then she gets pregnant as a teenager, right? And
Oh, she did?
oh yeah, she was a teen
Oh, I
mom.
didn't know that.
Mhm.
Oh.
Yeah, she has a daughter that's
Yeah,
like,
didn't she have like a show for a while, babe?
Yeah,
Or
she was on a show, I remember.
yeah,
yeah,
I remember that. It was like the whole teen mom thing. Yeah.
yeah. So she, gets pregnant, and all of a sudden there's this like boyfriend that nobody knew about that's like supposedly the father of this child. Well, now this child's like grown up. And so people are showing the picture of this child, this girl or whatever, and a picture of her, Jamie Lynn, and Dan Schneider. Dude, the girl looks just like Dan Schneider. And so everyone's like, oh my God, did he molest her and get her pregnant? And like, then they brought in this boyfriend as like a cover up. And I was like, I'm not saying it's true. I'm just saying, look at the pictures and decide for yourself. And so it's really sad if like that's the case. And like, you know, you see people like Britney Spears and how they've turned out. And it's like, you know, something horribly traumatic happened to them for them to end up like this after like all this success and talent. And so, yeah, there's like the whole Nickelodeon thing, and so many people, like all the kids that we loved as like a child and watched, they were being molested. And it was just like a normal thing and like just part of show business or whatever. It's horrible. Um, what was the other thing? Oh, this is okay. So this is like a super crazy rumor. I just heard it this morning though, so I have to tell you guys because I was like laughing. I shouldn't laugh because it's actually sad. But like, you know, we've been following the whole Diddy thing.
Yeah.
And obviously, like, there's all kinds of sexual things happening there. Well, everyone has like been talking ever since that happened about Kris Jenner and how she's just like fled. Like no one can find her and they think that she um is involved. They think that when they raided Diddy's home, she somehow was tied into it. And people are like, well, that would make sense because she's like, you know, the queen of like show business and managing things. And all of her daughters, they've all been associated with Diddy. You know what I mean? Like they've all been like close. So the rumor, total rumor, okay, is that there was a video of Kris Jenner with a young underage Justin Bieber doing stuff. And people are like, this would make so much sense because Justin Bieber has always said that he slept with a Kardashian, but like never said which one. And they were like, oh my God, what if it was the mom? And I shouldn't laugh because Justin Bieber, like, now that we know what we know, when you go back and you look at the videos of him with Diddy and Usher, he was absolutely being harmed. And it's really sad because no one was there to protect him. They were all, you know, just using this young boy. And then you even look at public interviews of other grown-up celebrities hitting on this young boy on camera. And it's like, it just opens your eyes, like you said, Erin, to this whole part of society that's always been right there, right in front of our faces. But since we're good people and we're not sick and twisted, we haven't had the ability to see it, you know?
I love how you said that because that's a huge. I was talking to some friends about this yesterday and like getting their opinion on it as well. And I told them, I said, you know, part of it is our brains just we can't comprehend it, right? Like I cannot fathom. I can't even fathom, and I'm glad I can't. I don't even want to try to hurt a child. I can't, you know, I would die to protect a child I didn't even know, right? And the same, and I'm putting this in the same category, but it's a whole different podcast, but like is like hurting animals intentionally. You know what I mean? I cannot grasp that. And like Tara and I had this really great conversation the other day about it. And I was like, I can grasp a lot of things. You know, as messed up as murder is, I can grasp it. Like I can understand, you know, a bum murdering another bum to steal his shoes. Like as crazy as that sounds, I can understand it. You know, that there is a reason behind it. You know what I mean? As crazy as that reason is, I can understand it. I can understand theft, even though I despise theft. I can understand it. You know what I mean? But when it comes to hurting a child, I cannot understand it. So just like you said so perfectly, that's part of the sickness I'm having around the whole thing is why in the fuck is this being in any way made to be okay? You know, minor attracted persons or, you know, whatever. I can't grasp that. And it's so hard for me to grasp that. And it upsets me. Like I was just looking at my notes. I put, why the fuck are there statute of limitations any type of sexual, you know, it can be child molesting, it could be, you know, sexual assault. You know, why? Now this sounds crazy coming from me, as I am not a big Biden fan, but I will say that I was reading an article, and it was in The Hill, and I'm not sure if it was this past Friday or the one before, but they actually just passed a bill, and it eliminates the time constraints for survivors to file civil claims related to sex abuse crimes, like against minors, including forced labor, sex trafficking, sexual abuse, and sexual exploitation of children. Now that's civil, you know, so it's like I found that article. I'm like, okay, well that's a positive thing, you know, good job, sir, you know, but it makes you wonder, why does he even have to pass that in the first place? Why isn't that already in place? Why, you know what I mean? Like, and it makes you wonder, what would be the reason to protect these people?
Right.
And that,
exactly.
yeah, that goes into a whole nother, you know, whole nother ball game. But like I was thinking of it's funny you mentioned the Diddy thing, because when I was looking up, like you blew my mind. You guys had such a great podcast the other day, and that blew my mind, going into all that. And it's like, these are people that are photographed, videoed, on the news more than anybody else. And nobody saw this type of behavior. That's
Erin,
not.
Erin, we have a president who literally on camera has completely inappropriate actions with children. Like creepy pedophile grandparent interactions with kids on national TV that is broadcast to the rest of the world, sniffing children's hair, making creepy comments, touching them inappropriately. Like, this is the president of the fucking United States, and this is broadcast to the world. And other than people like us who comment on how disturbed and creepy it is, you have an administration that shoves it all under the carpet, covers up everything, and acts like it's normal. So you ask that question, there's your answer.
Yeah. No, well said, honey. And that's my thing, is that still like goes back to the thing of, I can't wrap my head around that. You know what I mean? It's like, I just can't, you know. I used to love how my dad would put it. He used to say, you know, anybody that hurts a child just needs a 22 between the eyes. And my dad used to go, they need to go, you know, because it's one of those things where I have a lot of respect. I have a lot of respect for psychologists, you know, because it is studying anything with like human behaviors, or, you know, the brain, or anything like that. I mean, that's a huge bite to take, you know. But you do have like psychologists that will defend, like they'll defend child molesters, they'll defend, you know, sexual predators, right? And they'll base it on, okay, well, you know, this person was abused when they were a child, which is awful, which is terrible, and I'm so sad that that happened to them. But I guess in my mind, I'm like, okay, we need to literally stop the circle. You know what I mean? It's like, so you are now a child predator, which they have a ton of evidence, which I feel silly I didn't actually pull up the article, but to support that the chances of them getting better and actually improving and, you know, becoming less of a predator is like zero, you know. And I guess it's hard for me to understand how these people can, and I think they're defending them on the basis of what happened to them in the past, which again, most of us, we have empathy, we have compassion, you know, and it breaks your heart. I was further reading something that opened up a whole nother kind of rabbit hole, but it was talking about like morality in children, right? And it was amazing. It was talking about how they've done studies, and this was a lot of studies back in the day, like the 60s, when they could do like studies that weren't ethical now, but they did these studies, and this sounds really fucked up, but it's kind of fascinating. So they would take these toddlers, right? And they would have them in a room, and they would bring in like a puppy, right? And the toddlers would be like, you know, playing with the puppy or whatever. And then the person running the experiment would take the puppy and like kind of hurt it a little bit. So the puppy would make like you know, and the children would immediately react. Now, these are little tiny kids, can't even, you know, most of them probably can't even formulate a sentence yet. And they recognized, you know, that what that person was doing was wrong, you know? So that got me into a whole nother article, and it was talking about how, I mean, they've proven children as young as like 1 year old have, you know, can formulate right and wrong. And I think it said that they completely formulate it like around age 3 to 4 years old, is when they finally start to grasp like the concept of morality. But it was saying that they've shown empathy in children, you know, that are like really, really young. And I'm sorry, going off on that whole side, my point of that was that these are small children that are showing that idea of empathy and showing that idea of compassion. And so to know that there are this many people out there, if the numbers are correct from what we've been seeing, that at some point in their childhood, it was like that empathy and compassion just went out the window, because I can't fathom a person hurting a child or hurting an animal and having empathy and compassion, right? And I'm going somewhere with this, I promise. And so my point is that when I think of someone that has no empathy and no compassion and no, you know, to me, that is that's a monster, you know, that's something that honestly feels like it would be terrifying, you know what I mean, to meet someone like that. And it seems like you would be able to notice behaviors that would show that, right? And when I met that, or when I found out that information about that guy, I knew that really upset me, because it made me realize, like, do we really know people, you know? And sorry, I'm having a hard time putting it into words, but basically, like, do we really know people, and how are these people going about their daily lives? And we're watching them on TV, and I mean, some of these people were people that I absolutely were my hero as a kid, you know what I mean? Like, it was interesting, I looked up Stephen Collins. I don't know if you guys do you remember him, Stephanie? He was the dad in Seventh Heaven.
I was literally going to bring that up. I was thinking, as you were talking, I was thinking about that, because that one, that's what messed with me, because it was like, no way. He was like the pastor on Seventh Heaven.
He was the epitome of like the caring, compassionate, empathetic dad. I remember when he was in a Lifetime movie, and it was called Babysitter Seduction. I remember that. And like, it was so corny, but I remember thinking like, wow, he's handsome. And, you know, when I remember when he was in Seventh Heaven, I was like, oh my gosh, like what an incredible man, you know, blah, 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 blah. Like, he openly admitted to, you know, to sexual misconduct. And the only reason he got off was because New York has statute of limitations. And then that got me into the whole, in my notes, why the fuck are there statute of limitations? You know? So yeah, that's funny, honey. I was wondering if you were gonna I knew you'd know him. Do you remember him, Tara?
I never watched that show, so
I
might recognize him if I saw him.
Yeah,
he was like the perfect, you know, dad and pastor and everything. And that's what pissed me off about it, is he was just openly talking about it in interviews because he knew he couldn't be arrested for it. A 9-year-old. He was talking about a 9-year-old.
Oh,
and it's like, you know, you were talking about like compassion and empathy. And I think that's the thing, is like, you know, psychopaths, sociopaths, narcissists, like all those people that lack empathy and compassion are really good at faking it. They are really good actors. just
And
like a lot of
yeah,
people in
if you're a
Hollywood.
good actor, yes, you're
They can
right.
fake it. So, you don't pick up on it because they know what you want to hear and how they should represent themselves in public. And that's what's so scary is like you always think it's going to be some like person that looks really bad and it's not.
Yeah. Yeah, no, hun, well said. And so I guess, like I said, we could talk about this for 24 hours, but basically it all came from that, like I said, the information I found about that guy, and I've been having a really hard time with it, like just a really hard time grasping it, because most of the people that, and I can say this completely firmly, I've met multiple thousands of people in my life. I mean, I've met lots of people. And I can tell you that out of all those people, there's been just a small, tiny handful of ones that I thought were maybe a little off. And some of and I mean, we're talking, I could count on two hands, ones that I truly thought were like evil. And I was like, I got to get the fuck away from these people. Right. So if you look at those percentages, you know what I mean? We're talking, that's good. That means that a majority of the people that I've met and know are good people, right? But those percentages do not match the type of percentages that you're seeing in the media, and it's like, and then all of these different stories that are coming out about, like you said, like Diddy and all the people that are connected to him, those percentages do not match up with the percentages that I have had in my life, So then I think, were those people, all those people that I thought were good people, were they just faking it? Were they just acting? Not all of them, obviously, but I mean, was there a higher percentage of bad, evil people that I just didn't know about? And
I will
just,
tell you,
go ahead.
from my experience that there are.
Yeah.
Only because I know from my work experience that that's the case. I think one of the biggest differences is this has existed forever. I mean, it really has. But we didn't have the social media. We didn't have the mainstream media. We didn't have all of these ways celebrities are recording things that they're doing. All this stuff, they can keep track of it now in ways that they couldn't in the past. And so it's much easier to expose things that are going on, that I believe have been going on for a very long time, but things are being exposed now because of all the modern technology that we have and the way things are used as blackmail, like the whole thing with Epstein Island, with Pizzagate. Like, there is some really, really terrible shit that has been going on for a very long time, but we're only now finding out about it. And I think that's why there's such a push to normalize it, so that when we do find out about it, people have been preconditioned to think, well, it's really not that bad because XYZ, and it's really, they can't help themselves, or it's a problem, and it's just a minor attracted person, or oh, it was a 14-year-old, not a 5-year-old, so that's not as bad. And it's this push to just make it okay because things are being exposed. That's my opinion.
Well said,
Yeah,
hon. Yeah.
I know.
There,
And it's like, something I was thinking about is there was this study back in the day. I don't even remember when it was, but it was like this prison experiment. And you may have heard about it, where they put like a group of college kids in this building, and some of them got to play the prison guard and others had to play the prisoners, and they had to turn the experiment off early because like within one day,
Stanford
the,
prison experiment. Yeah.
yes, the prison guards, like they took on their role as their identity, and they were doing like horrible things to the prisoners. And they were saying how it was so scary because it shows how quickly and easily you could just like flip a switch, and if you're in the right environment, whatever. And so it makes me think about like Hollywood and all these like elites, all these like Epstein people and Diddy people, right? And I wish I would have saved it, but I came across some interview of like Will Smith, where he was talking about how when you have that much money and fame, how you're like never satisfied, because he's like, you want something, you can go buy it. You want to date a supermodel, you can go get a supermodel. Like, and you have everything, and therefore like nothing satisfies you anymore. And then you're thrown in this environment where you see all of your peers, people like, let's just assume Tom Hanks or whatever, doing these things. And is there some switch that flips that makes it seem like this is normal or okay? Like, I don't know, but there's got to be something to it, because it's so prevalent, and it's so prevalent in these situations like Hollywood and the music industry and elites, the rich elites. And so I don't know, it's really scary, but I'm glad that it's being exposed. And have you seen the Out of Shadows documentary?
No, I haven't seen that one.
You guys have to watch it. It came out in 2020. It's been highly censored, but it was a stunt man in Hollywood that like was exposing all of this for like the first time.
And didn't
And
he died under mysterious circumstances or something? Or am I thinking of a different one?
no, he may have. I haven't really followed up on it since then, but that's what opened my eyes to everything that's happening. And it's like he was exposing all of it. And he got into the whole Pizzagate thing. Like, it's really hard to watch. It's really, really hard to watch because it completely like shatters your view of the world. But it was eye-opening, and it talked about people like the Clintons and the Podesta brothers and these people that, are like in our political world and very famous, that are so freaking dark. And it starts to like combine that world of these like child predators with the world of adrenochrome, like we talked about, when you were on before.
Yeah.
And I firmly believe that all those children, those tens of thousands, or maybe we're in the hundreds of thousands of migrant children that went missing, I have no doubt that's where it
They are.
goes. The elites that are, using kids for their, their blood and like their crazy sexual preferences. And it gets so dark, and it's so hard to like fathom, but I mean, it's happening, and we can't just ignore it. Like, how are you going to just ignore it once you know something like that?
Who is, oh my gosh, because the name completely went out of my brain right now, but Tara's ex-boyfriend, the one that died.
Paul Walker?
Okay, so Paul Walker, right? So yeah, there was a movie he was in, and I'm so mad because I was trying to find the name of the movie. Hold on, keep talking amongst yourselves. I gotta look it up. But he was in this one movie, and it was well, of course, because Paul Walker's just amazing. But he was in this movie, and the movie was kind of dark itself, but it was kind of about, a little bit of drug underworld kind of situation. But he was married to this woman, and in the movie, I think it was just his son. It was either his son or his daughter get kidnapped by these two sexual predators, right? And throughout, I won't tell what happens, but throughout the movie, the mom is able to find them, right? And it is just so amazing because, and sorry, it's a little bit of a spoiler alert, so if you want to see the movie, you should probably turn off. But basically, the little kid is at this child predator's house, and he gets the phone and he calls his mom, and he's like, blah, 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 this is where I am. And so Paul Walker's wife, shows up, and it's like this very normal looking couple, very, very, pearl necklace, the suit, nice apartment, and the mom is looking at her, and it's just the coolest scene because the mom is just looking at her, and it's the way that the woman is talking to her and the things that she's saying. And then right then, I think she hears her son in the background, and she pulls out a gun and just shoots her in the head. And I got goosebumps. And I remember when I saw that movie, like, I was like, see, how hard was that, guys? Like, it's just, it was like, because, I don't know. It's like, I can't, again, I keep saying it. I can't wrap my head around it, honey. But like, just like you both so eloquently put it, it's out there and they're trying to make it normal. And it has been hard for me too, because a lot of movies have been a huge part of me growing up. Like I'm like, Tara knows I'm like a huge movie buff. Like I love my movies. I love my storylines, my actors and everything like that. And some of them are kind of falling apart because things are coming out about these people who I emulated. I mean, I just loved, you know, and yeah, I guess you could say I don't like to think of myself as naive. I mean, I've been through quite a bit in my life. But I suppose I am rather naive to some of this, because in my mind, I've always thought that most people were good people. And, you know, I've had some incredible discussions over the years with Tara about it, because she's seen a part of society that I haven't seen. And, but like, she's one of the best people I've ever known, you know what I mean? And she's this I don't know, it's like I think of her as kind of like this, like a knight with like a shield, you know, like protecting people, you know, and I don't know, it's really, I am that, and I know this is getting long because I'm talking, but it reminded me of this movie that came out recently, and I know you guys have mentioned it, the Sounds of Freedom movie. And I know there's a bunch of bullshit about the producer had a sex ring and blah, 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 blah. But if you break it down to the meaning of the movie.
I didn't hear that.
You didn't, babe?
No, Stephanie, did you know that?
Yeah, I don't know what to believe with it, because I've heard all sorts of things, but yeah, he's been like canceled basically.
Yeah, he got charged, Tara, but like they didn't. I don't know what happened beyond that. But basically it was like he had something to do with it was like almost like he had something to do with sexual trafficking, and it was one of the producers. But here's the thing, when you actually go in and look it up, the guy literally was not even a part of the movie. I think he like donated some money to the campaign to make the movie, and it went into a whole thing of like, yeah, like they're making it, the media is making him out to be much more involved than he was, I guess. But that got me thinking too. It was like, why in any way would anybody, and people kept saying, oh, it's the liberals, you know, they don't want that movie to be made, you know, and that blew my mind. Why wouldn't you want that movie to be made? Why wouldn't you want that idea to be out there for people, you know? And but anyway, sorry, that basically opened up a whole new thing of like, why, you know, why aren't we making, you know, sorry, I don't know how to put it into words, but basically, I just don't understand why they wouldn't want that movie to be made, because it's a movie about this incredible man who dedicated his life to doing something that most people would never, ever want to do. And they would never, ever want to have anything to do with, you know, I wouldn't even want to deal with, you know, sexual predators and child molesters. And this guy, that's his whole immersive every single day of his life. That was what he was doing. And imagine working in that industry where you're trying to stop these evil people. And for every one that you stop, there's 15, 20 more, you know what I mean? And I had a buddy that used to do, he would work in chat rooms to try to get, like child predators. Like he would pretend like he was a kid or whatever. And he used to talk about that, how it was just amazing that these, gosh, I'm so sorry, I keep getting sidetracked, but basically he just talked about how it was so weird that there was people that actually were trying to stop them from doing that. Like there was people that were trying to stop them from running their program to catch these predators. Like why? So anyway.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of sick people, and that's why, but I also think it forces you to change the way you look at the world, and it questions everything that you believed, like we were saying, and it's hard. It's hard to watch. It's hard. So I think there's people that just don't want to admit it. It's like, oh, if I don't look at it, then it doesn't exist. And, you know, like, let's just keep it hidden kind of thing. But I say screw that, like expose them all, you know?
Yeah.
But I don't think they ever will be exposed because, like, you even had that billionaire guy that tried exposing them. Like, he posted, there's this elite ring of billionaire pedophiles, and now they're coming after me. And then they found him, that he drowned by suicide the very next day. So it's like,
Yeah.
that's how they get away with it. There's so many people with money and power involved that how do you go up against that, And have you guys noticed that, like, anytime I hear lately about one of these illegal migrants that are hurting someone or killing someone or arrested, every single one of them has a past conviction of child sexual assault. Like every
Yes.
single one of them.
Mhm.
Like, what the hell? That's who we're letting in our country. And so it's like, yeah, we should be aware of this and we should be talking about it. And why isn't anyone following up on all these missing children? Like, no one's answered for that to this
Thousands.
day.
Thousands and thousands of missing children.
It was like 85,000, like, what was
Yeah.
that, 2 years ago? Like,
Yep.
there's no telling how much now, but yeah, why hasn't anyone
Mhm.
followed up? No one has answered for that. Zero accountability.
Yeah.
And that's where we're at, It's crazy. And then if we try posting this episode on social media, it'll get taken down. It'll get censored,
Yeah. Just
So-
like a few weeks ago when I tried to look up that one episode and I couldn't find it. And I was like,
Yeah.
they took it off. I knew it.
Yep.
But to close up, ladies, just thank you so much for making this podcast. And I'm always so amazed at like your wonderful research and just keep doing it, because like I said, you guys are opening people's eyes, and there are a lot of people out there like me who, I try my best to be a good person. I know I'm far from perfect, but there are people out there that are good and want and see the good, and and I'm sorry, but if I found out someone was hurting one of your kids, I would shoot them right there.
Well, thank you for that. We need more people like that.
Well, ladies, thank you again so much for having me on. I appreciate you both very much.
Thanks for coming on. It's always fun chatting with you. You're welcome anytime.
Thank you.
All right. Well, yeah, I feel like we covered a lot, and I know it's like hard for people to listen to sometimes and grasp, but this is the reality that we're dealing with. And I think if more people are aware of it, like, that's how you stop it. That's how you fight it. We can't just pretend it's not happening. So thanks for coming on and sharing. And I hope everyone has a great rest of your day, and we'll see you back here shortly. If you're sick of all the crazy shit going on in our country and you want to express your support and patriotism for the show, head on over to our Etsy store at UO Patriot Chicks and check out our new stickers. The link can also be found on our website. If you love the show and you want exclusive episodes, support the podcast and join the conversation by becoming a member of our Patreon community. We'll be posting weekly member-only podcast episodes and content that isn't available on the weekly podcast. Every Patreon member will also get a free Unapologetically Outspoken sticker and updates about our new sticker release before they're made public. And be sure to follow us on TikTok at Unapologetically Outspoken. And if you haven't done so already, please rate and review the podcast. The more you support us, the more people we can reach. So help us spread the word.